Good morning, 29ers. We hope you had a fantastic Christmas and New Year. Keep earning points to feel guilt-free aboard the GG Forever 29 train. We trust you enjoyed episode 42 and 44, You Are What You Eat. Today's episode explores this topic further. We are excited to have holistic Ayurvedic coach Jessica Gilbert Devieux, who will share valuable insights on how our digestion affects our overall wellness. You don't want to miss this. So, folks, hop on board for an enriching discussion.
Yes, Dr. G. Today's topic is incredibly close to my heart, and I know this will resonate with many of you. We are thrilled to welcome Jess back to the GG Forever 29 train. I hope you all enjoy the holidays and will keep your promises to be more mindful in protecting yourself and others, preserving our environment, loving more, and inspiring others to do the same. We are here to make a difference, and together we will. Hopefully, today's topic, We Are What We Digest, will highlight some crucial truths about how our eating habits affect our overall wellness. Exploring this through an Ayurvedic lens will provide us with a clearer understanding. So let's delve into this fascinating subject.
Thank you. Thank you, Gigi and Carl, for the warm welcome. It's so great to be back with the Forever 29 family. And I am so excited to dive into this topic because this conversation feels especially timely, given recent high profile events in the healthcare world that have sparked critical conversations about capitalism and profit driven healthcare systems. And, I worry that after such an event as this, we just want to point fingers and place blame, and really we end up deflecting. And of course, these discussions are certainly critical and important. We need to get to the root cause. And that's what Ayurveda is all about. It's about addressing the source of issues, and the healthcare problem in the US is no different. We must make the connection between what we're digesting and how it impacts our bodies. Truly, the power lies in us. We are the solution to the healthcare crisis in this country.
Jess, you bring up such an important point about addressing the root cause of health issues, and it's so refreshing to hear that perspective. It seems like Ayurveda has a very different approach than what we see in Western medicine, which tends to focus more on treating symptoms. Can you give us a broad overview of Ayurveda and explain how its principles differ from the more conventional methods we are familiar with in the US?
Great question. Ayurveda, which means the science of life in Sanskrit, is an ancient healing practice from India that goes way, 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 way back. It's been around for over 5,000 years, and it's actually part of the country's national health system with hospitals and clinics serving people all over the country. So they definitely know what they're talking about.
Wow, 5,000 years. That is incredible. So, what makes Ayurveda stand this test of time?
It's all about tapping into ancient wisdom that's already within us. Our bodies are constantly sending signals, like when you feel sluggish or bloated after a heavy meal, that's your body's way of pretty much waving a big red flag saying, "Hey, something's off here." And Ayurveda is all about paying attention to those signals and treats digestion as the foundation of everything. And not even just digestion of food, but how well we digest food, but everything we take in, like the air we breathe, even the experiences we have. If our digestion isn't working right, it can show up in all kinds of ways. Low energy, bad mood, skin issues, you name it. So Ayurveda looks at the whole system. It's not just what you eat, but how you eat it and process it. Food should nourish us, not just fill us up. And when we take that approach, it's amazing how everything starts to click into place.
So, It is not just about eating healthy, but understanding how our bodies process everything. That's such a different perspective.
Exactly. It's about really tuning in into how our bodies process everything. It's like a full system check-in. And scientifically speaking, at its core, Ayurveda is about balancing the five elemental energies, which are air, fire, water, earth, and space. And these elements are considered the building blocks of our bodies and govern all of the biological processes. When they're in balance, we thrive. When they're not, symptoms show up as clues to help us figure out what's off.
Hmm. These elements you mentioned seem less tangible. How does Ayurveda connect these elements to the physical body in a way that impacts health?
So the elements represent not just the physical structure of the body, but also the energy that keeps everything running smoothly. For example, fire. This is responsible for digestion and metabolism, which helps us convert food into energy. Air handles movement. So this is circulation, breathing, inhaling, exhaling, walking, talking, and even how our thoughts travel through our minds. Water keeps us hydrated and balanced, managing the fluids in our body. Earth provides us stability and structure. So think of our bones, muscles, and tissues. They rely on this. And then there's space, which affects our mind and the areas inside our body, such as the digestive tract and joints. So when all these elements are in harmony, our bodies function at their best.
How does that translate into something as simple as eating in Ayurveda?
When we think about how we eat in the West, it's often driven by personal preferences, habits, or even our emotions. It's almost like we're just trying to satisfy a quick craving or meet some external expectation. But when we look at Ayurveda, the perspective shifts dramatically. Eating is not just about filling our stomachs. It's about nourishing the body and mind. And Ayurveda, food is medicine, both for prevention and healing. And it's all about prana, which is the vital life force that revitalizes and rejuvenates us. So that's one of the biggest differences about Ayurveda and how we approach food. Unlike counting calories or tracking macronutrients, Ayurveda, again, is all about those five elemental qualities, which are earth, water, fire, air, and space. These elements are the foundation of everything around us, including the food we consume. So the idea is to choose foods that help balance these elements in our bodies, which in turn makes us feel our best. It's not solely about the energy food provides, but how it can restore harmony within us. Whereas in the West, nutrition tends to focus heavily on calories and energy. It emphasizes understanding, or Ayurveda is a refreshing break from that. It emphasizes understanding the qualities of the foods we eat rather than just the quantity. Think about it. Some foods might be more earthy, while others could be more fiery. It really comes down to personal balance. What works for one might not suit another at all. It's all about finding what fits you.
It's interesting. Interesting.
And and let's talk about balance. In Ayurveda, food isn't categorized like we usually do. Fruits, vegetable, grains, proteins, and fats. Instead, it revolves around the six tastes: sweet, sour, salty, pungent, bitter, and astringent. Each of these tastes interacts with our body and mind in unique ways. Ever notice how you crave something sweet when you're stressed? That's
Hmm.
your body, that's your body trying to calm itself. But too much sour or salty food can fire things up, making you feel anxious or agitated. So discovering the right mix of these six tastes in your meals doesn't just nourish your body, it also supports your emotional and mental well-being.
It's fascinating how interconnected everything is. Food isn't just fuel, it's essential for overall life balance. This viewpoint is impressively holistic, especially when contrasted with traditional Western medicine. How do the two approaches differ in other ways?
Western medicine is often highly specialized. You've got experts for every little part of the body: cardiologist for your heart, dermatologist for your skin, and so on. Healthcare is so specialized, we even have separate insurance for our teeth and eyes. And while it's great for diving deep into specific conditions, it can also mean the big picture gets lost and can also lead to a fragmented view of health. If you're seeing multiple specialists, they might treat each symptom separately, but the root cause might not be addressed. Plus, Western medicine tends to lean on generalized treatments. Medications, for example, are prescribed to work for most people with a certain condition, but not necessarily for you as an individual. This approach works for many, but it doesn't always account for the unique differences in each person's health, lifestyle, and body. So Ayurveda offers a truly holistic approach to health and wellness, focusing on the entire individual rather than just isolated symptoms. Ayurveda would first assess your unique physical and mental constitution. This could involve looking at your diet, lifestyle, and even your emotional health to understand why you're experiencing headaches in the first place. In Ayurveda, treatment for similar symptoms like digestive issues is personalized based on an individual's elemental makeup and lifestyle. While a Western practitioner may suggest antacids, Ayurveda might recommend different approaches such as increasing warm, cooked foods or focusing on hydrating foods and some gentle yoga. This holistic method includes herbal remedies and lifestyle changes addressing both symptoms and root causes to promote overall physical, mental, and emotional harmony. Ayurveda aims to create unique treatment plans for long-term well-being rather than applying a one-size-fits-all solution.
Hmm. All right, Jess, I got a question for you then.
Mhm.
Okay, in surgery, we often rely on diagnostic tools and test results to pinpoint problems. How does Ayurveda identify these root causes without that level of technology?
It's a good question, Dr. G. So Ayurveda relies on observation, touch, pulse diagnosis, as well as detailed discussions about a person's lifestyle, diet, and emotional state. So practitioners use these insights to understand imbalances in the body's elemental composition, which helps then uncover the root cause.
So could you elaborate on how imbalances can lead to disease?
Absolutely. In Ayurveda, digestion is considered the key to health because all diseases start in the gut. When our digestive system is compromised, it doesn't just affect our gut. It can lead to systemic problems that impact other organs and systems throughout the body. So let's break this down with an example. Imagine someone who regularly eats processed, heavy, or cold foods. Over time, this leads to sluggish digestion. When digestion slows down, the body struggles to break down food properly. Nutrients aren't absorbed efficiently, and undigested food begins to rot, creating toxins that eventually circulate throughout the body, spreading through the bloodstream and accumulating in various organs, tissues, and joints. Now, let's say this person eats a lot of cold foods, like ice cream or heavy salads. While these foods might seem refreshing, they extinguish the digestive fire, which is needed to process food effectively. So when digestion is weak, these foods sit heavily in the stomach, leading to bloating or discomfort. But it doesn't just stop there. Over time, this undigested food can accumulate and settle in the joints, contributing to conditions like arthritis, with swelling and pain in places like the knees and hands. If digestion remains sluggish, the body also struggles to metabolize sugar properly, which can lead to insulin resistance, which is a precursor to diabetes. The slow digestive process keeps the body from clearing toxins, and as these toxins build up, they contribute to chronic inflammation. This inflammation doesn't stay confined to the digestive tract, it spreads throughout the body, affecting organs like the liver, kidneys, and even the brain. It also impacts other areas like the joints, hormones, and nervous system. As we see with diseases like diabetes and heart disease, these are metabolic conditions driven by systemic inflammation. The root cause is often traced back to poor digestion. When our digestive fire is weak, our body becomes inflamed, making it harder for it to heal and recover. Over time, this imbalance leads to chronic diseases. So maintaining a strong digestive system isn't just about avoiding bloating or discomfort. It avoids inflammation and prevents long-term conditions like diabetes, arthritis, and other metabolic diseases. In Ayurveda, it all starts with the gut. So keeping that digestive fire strong is key to overall health.
What? This is strange. Yesterday, I was talking to a good friend of mine who is also a physician and a surgeon, and he told me, before ending that conversation, that what, Carl? What's going to kill us in 10 days is already in our bodies if we don't do anything about it. Huh. Yeah, go ahead, proceed.
Very, very interesting, very interesting point. So when digestion is off, it's not just about physical symptoms. It can directly affect our mental and emotional state too. The gut and brain are deeply connected, which is why we often hear about the gut-brain axis. For example, if you have heavy meals late at night or snack on sugary foods, you might wake up feeling groggy or low on energy. But it doesn't end there. The buildup of toxins from poorly digested food can disrupt the nervous system, contributing to anxiety, irritability, or even feelings of restlessness. And recent research, like what was highlighted in NPR's reporting on gut microbes, has shown that chronic inflammation caused by poor digestion doesn't just stop at the gut, as we just discussed. It can trigger a cascade of effects in the brain. For instance, inflammation can alter the production of neurotransmitters like serotonin, which is largely produced in the gut. So this can lead to mood imbalances, increasing susceptibility to depression and anxiety over time. It's like a feedback loop. So poor digestion fuels inflammation, which disrupts the brain's ability to regulate emotions, and that stress can in turn further impact gut health. So this gut-brain connection underscores why balanced digestion is so critical, not just for physical wellness, but for mental and emotional stability too. So irregular eating patterns like skipping meals and then overeating later, this just creates further imbalance. This confuses your digestive system, which then impacts your ability to relax. And when your digestion is slow, it's a domino effect that can just keep your mind racing and making it harder to settle down and get the quality sleep you need. And the emotional impact of poor digestion is often underestimated, but it's a crucial part of the equation. Balancing the gut doesn't just support physical health, it's key to achieving emotional and mental equilibrium as well. So keeping your digestive fire going is the key to feeling great overall. The good news is there are easy ways to keep your gut healthy and make sure food and toxins don't build up. You can prevent or even reverse these imbalances before they get out of hand and become chronic.
Wow, I love practical tips. So what are the keys to keeping our gut strong?
Well, let me test you forever 29ers. Can you guess the number one thing you need to do to keep your digestive fire strong?
Okay, don't skip breakfast, right? Starting the day with a meal is key, isn't it?
That's a good
Oh,
one.
It's about not overeating. Isn't it better to eat smaller portions and avoid indulging in unhealthy, sugary, or salty foods throughout the day to prevent the digestive system from becoming sluggish?
I love both of your guesses, but the true secret is when you eat. Eating regularly at the same time every day is key in maintaining a strong digestive fire. So in Ayurveda, we recommend eating your meals at regular intervals, ideally every 3 to 4 hours. And this is because it helps to train your digestive system to be prepared for food, making it more efficient and breaking things down and absorbing nutrients.
So it's about sensing with your body's natural rhythms.
Exactly. When you eat at regular times, you're signaling to your body that it's time to digest, which helps keep everything running smoothly. It keeps your digestive system in a steady, optimal state. And skipping meals or eating at irregular times can cause your digestive fire to weaken, making it harder for your body to process food properly.
So it is not just what you eat, but when you eat, if I understand correctly.
Yes, you understood that correctly. Timing is just as important as the food itself. That's why Ayurveda emphasizes consistency. When your
Mm.
meals happen at the same time each day, it supports your body's natural rhythms and helps keep everything running smoothly. Now, for this next part, I know you both already know this, but for our fellow Forever 29ers, we really, really should follow nature's rhythm, which is suggesting that we eat our largest meal from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. So when the sun is the strongest in the sky, that's when our digestive fire is at its peak. So that's really when we should be having our largest meal of the day. I know you both already do that.
Right. So that represents a shift from the usual dinner time focus in the West, where our largest meal is typically eaten at dinner time, right?
Exactly. It's in Ayurveda, it's all about aligning with nature. So as I said, our digestive fire is strongest when the sun is at its peak, which is why it's ideal to eat your largest meal during lunch. Because as the day goes on, the digestive fire naturally winds down. So making dinner a lighter meal is ideal and no later than 7 p.m. for your last meal so that you give yourself plenty of time before you go to bed. All right.
Wow.
So we've got our timing down, and just like we talked about in the last episode of Forever 29, what you put in your body is just as important. So in
Mhm.
Ayurveda, the key is fresh, whole foods. Why? Because fresh foods pack the most nutrients, which means they nourish your body the way it's meant to be nourished. So aim for things like fruits, veggies, and whole grains, basically the least processed stuff you can find. I know it's tough to avoid refined foods entirely, but go for the options that are as close to their natural state as possible. Think whole grain rice instead of white rice, or high quality whole grain bread instead of white bread. These foods are easier for your body to digest and give you way better nutrition. Ayurveda also pushes for warm, freshly cooked meals. And I know this next part's going to sound shocking, but we really should steer clear of cold and frozen foods. And yes, that means leftovers, frozen meals, and even raw stuff. It's a bit controversial. I get it, but hear me out. In Ayurveda, cold foods lose their prana, which once again, prana is the life force that gives us vitality, which is what keeps us nourished. So when food gets frozen, it turns into these empty little particles. And so it's really not the most nourishing for us. So leftovers are better than frozen options. They aren't ideal, but when in doubt, fresh is best.
Wow. So fresh is best. I think that is new for some of our listeners. So you are saying frozen meals lose their natural value? But what about busy days when we don't have time to cook?
That's a great question, Gigi. And it's a shift for sure. And I get it. Our society is all about convenience. We're constantly on the go, and cooking can often feel like such a chore, especially in a culture that prioritizes productivity over well being. So that convenience often leads us to grab quick, processed foods that don't give us the nutrients we need. And sure, while frozen meals and leftovers can be a lifesaver when you're short on time, Ayurveda encourages us to prioritize fresh, home cooked meals as much as possible. Meals in Ayurveda are seen as sacred experiences, from chopping and prepping to savoring each bite. In the past, meals were all about community, taking time to prepare and enjoy food together. But
Yeah.
now we've shifted toward fast food and quick fixes, which leaves us improperly nourished. And let's not sugarcoat it. Our society isn't exactly set up to keep us well. In
Mhm.
fact, it thrives on us being unwell. The
Mm.
imbalance fuels industries that profit from treating symptoms rather than addressing root causes. It's a system that often prioritizes productivity and profit over true wellness, keeping people in a cycle of imbalance. And we, as a society, need to wake up to how our capitalist society thrives on these imbalances. Disease fuels unwellness, and unwellness feeds an entire industry. Healthcare is expensive, not just because of innovation or complexity, but because there's profit in treating illness. A society that keeps people sick is profitable, and that's why the system often focuses on managing symptoms instead of addressing root causes.
Yep. There's a recent research from NPR that just came about ultra processed food, linking them to poor mental health. It's good to see more studies like that coming out, and also seeing a larger focus on integrative and or holistic medicine, tying together these ancient principles like the ones Ayurveda is teaching with modern research on the impact of diet on mental and physical health.
I love that this is getting more and more attention. And this is really why I'm here today. And both Ayurveda and my mission, it's about reminding people that we already have the tools within us to achieve true health and balance. It's not about relying solely on external solutions, but reconnecting with our own bodies and their innate wisdom. That said, making this shift isn't always easy. It takes education and awareness to change how we think about health. And a big part of this work is helping people unlearn habits that prioritize convenience over well-being and empowering them with the knowledge to make mindful, informed choices. It's about creating a ripple effect of change, one small step at a time by making conscious choices, eating mindfully, and prioritizing practices that nurture our well-being.
That's a powerful point, Jess. And I think more people are recognizing that because some patients are already talking about that. And I think that really highlights how challenging it can be, though, to break those societal patterns. But looking at it from a practical standpoint, we are some simple steps that someone can take to start making this shift toward better eating habits without feeling overwhelmed by the need to be perfect.
Yeah, that's a really important question. And it's not about being perfect. And trust me, I'm not telling you to go and throw out everything in your freezer. You have to start small. If cooking every day feels overwhelming, start with just one fresh home cooked meal a day, like making lunch or dinner from scratch. It doesn't have to be fancy. You could do like a veggie stir fry or a hearty soup. The key is to prioritize fresh ingredients over processed options, and then gradually increase the number of meals you cook at home as you get more comfortable. Another tip is to batch prep ingredients. You can dedicate one day a week to chopping vegetables, cooking grains, or prepping proteins, and then store them in the fridge. And then when you're ready to make a meal, you can just throw them in. You could also keep it simple with one pot soups, stews, or stir fries. You could also plan ahead by creating a weekly menu and shop for exactly what you need. Having a plan reduces the temptation to reach for quick process options. Okay, so moving on to how much to eat. This is crucial in keeping your gut healthy. In Ayurveda, the goal is to eat until you're about 75% full. This gives your body the space it needs to properly digest without overloading the system. If you feel sluggish, you overate. Also, you should ideally eat every 3 to 4 hours. And as a fellow snacker, I truly struggle with this one, but avoid snacking as much as possible. Snacking can mess with your system because it doesn't give your digestion a break. When you're constantly eating, your body doesn't get enough time to process everything from your main meals. So that can lead to buildup and stagnation in your tissues, which means toxins get stuck in the system instead of being properly eliminated. It's almost like your body's constantly in work mode without any downtime.
Wow. This reminds me of Akigai, the
Oh, yeah.
Japanese concept of discovering purpose.
And balancing life, right?
Yeah, that in Okinawa, the practice was what is known as the 80% rule, which involves stopping when you are not completely full. This practice is a significant factor in their reputation for longevity. It is like Ayurveda and Akigai are speaking the same language here.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. There are definitely some strong similarities there. And like I mentioned before, eating is really considered to be a sacred ritual that deserves our full intention. We need to be intentional with our food choices. And I have to admit, I'm guilty of this. I often end up eating lunch at my desk while working, or if I'm binge watching something on TV. It's easy to get distracted, but we should really try to avoid that as much as we can. Put away screens and just focus on the meal in front of us. So, it gives us a moment to slow down and truly be present while we're eating. Chewing slowly. I often get made fun of because I eat very, very slow, but we should be chewing 32 times as a good rule of thumb, because our bodies need time to process the food. And if we're rushing through our meals, it can throw our digestion off balance. So also eating on the go or while standing, this can lead to issues down the line too. I know a lot of Americans like to eat while they're walking or eat in their car. That's a big no-no as well. Also, check in with your mood. You don't want to eat when you're angry or sad. Uh, so the more mindful we are during mealtime, the better our digestion will be. And I do want to touch on something that could also be a little bit controversial. But I know Americans love to drink ice cold beverages. But this is something that we really should try to avoid as well. When you drink something cold, your body has to use energy to warm it back up, which means less energy for actually digesting food. So this all makes it harder for your body to break down food efficiently. So the best bet is to stick with room temperature water, especially between meals. And, it's kind of ironic that most restaurants in the US serve ice cold water with your meal, even when it's freezing outside. So always ask for water with no ice.
That's such an easy change to make. And what about food combinations? I know some of them can make digestion harder, but could you give us a few examples?
Absolutely. Improper food combinations can make digestion harder than you think, and some common combinations might surprise you. For example, mixing fruit with milk or mixing fruits and veggies into your milk-based smoothies can create digestive challenge. And Gigi, I know you love your morning smoothies, but it's important to be mindful of how certain foods interact in your stomach. Dairy and fruit don't get along. They need different enzymes to digest, which can confuse your digestive system. And that confusion could result in bloating or gas while your body struggles to break them down simultaneously. And the same goes for mixing fruit with vegetables in smoothies. Some fruits digest faster than vegetables, causing a delay, and this can also disrupt your digestion. Also, animal or grain milk, like oat milk, almond, or soy milk, can exacerbate the digestion issues because they are naturally cold. So remember, in Ayurveda, food that's too cold can slow down the digestive fire, making it harder for your body to properly process nutrients. This is why it's often recommended to warm up your milk or avoid combining cold milk with foods that require more heat to digest, such as fruit. So keep food combinations simple so your body can process each one more easily. This way, you'll feel better and have less discomfort overall.
That's eye opening. I had no idea those combinations could be an issue. What other habits or foods should we be mindful of?
Sure. And some of these might seem obvious, but refined foods, processed foods, of course, should be avoided as much as possible. I don't think we need to go deep into that, but honestly, a lot of what's on grocery store shelves lack nutritional value. Fresh fruits and veggies, along with fresh deli items, are your best bets for healthier food. And go for whole grains, brown rice or good quality bread made with whole grains whenever you can. Microwaving food. This is a big one. When you microwave food, it changes the food's molecular structure and zaps away its vitality, making it less nutrient. So it's much better to use traditional methods like steaming or stovetop cooking to preserve the nutrients and life energy in your food. But don't worry, slow cookers, pressure cookers, and rice cookers are all fine to use. Fried foods, I think we know this, but these are also harder to digest. When oil is heated too high of a temperature, it changes its structure and makes the food heavier and harder to break down. So it really taxes the digestive system. In Ayurveda, spices are our best friends. Not like in the West, these are often downplayed as they're not seen as essential to health like they are in Ayurveda. But in Ayurveda, spices are our allies and are considered everyday medicine. They're not just for flavor, they help improve digestion, keep your body balanced, and support overall health. For example, turmeric can reduce inflammation, ginger helps with digestion, and cumin can ease bloating. And I mentioned this briefly, but really try to stay away from ice cold beverages. So think iced coffee, iced tea, fizzy drinks, all that good stuff. Those frosty drinks are really not doing us any favors.
Yeah, I can see why our digestive fire needs to stay warm and active. And when you chug up ice cold drinks, it's almost as if you are dousing that fire by throwing a bucket of cold water on it.
Hmm.
So this slows down your digestion. Yep.
Exactly. And then your body has to warm up that cold liquid, so it's using energy that could have gone towards breaking down your food. So it's adding an extra step to an already busy process.
You know what? The restaurant should stop serving water with ice.
Exactly. It never makes sense. So my tip here is to really switch to room temperature water, especially between meals. If you're feeling bold, opt for warm teas or water with a splash of lemon. Your digestive system will thank you, and you might even notice you feel more energized after meals. All right, so the last thing I want to touch on, and again, this one might stir the pot a bit, but is the idea of raw food diets. They've gained a lot of popularity because they're often seen as the ultimate clean or natural way of eating. And the reasoning behind this is that cooking vegetables is thought to destroy some of their nutrients and enzymes. So raw food enthusiasts believe they're getting the most out of their food in its uncooked state. But that's not the whole story. While it's true that some nutrients can be lost in cooking, the cooking process actually makes many foods easier to digest and allows your body to absorb their nutrients more effectively. So some raw foods, especially tougher vegetables, can be hard for our digestive system to break down, which means we don't actually get as much nutrition from them as we think. So I know that all of this might feel overwhelming, but again, it's not about being perfect. It's all about making small adjustments and finding what works best for your body.
I love how you've broken down these habits in such an approachable way. I think what really stick with me is how small intentional changes, like warming up our meals or switching to room temperature water, can have such a big impact on our overall health. It feels like something we can all start doing right now without being overwhelming.
Yeah, absolutely, Gigi. And Jess, I really appreciate the way you connected these practices back to the idea of listening to our bodies and supporting digestion, not just in an abstract sense, but in real, actionable ways. It is such a refreshing perspective in a world where health advice often feels either too extreme or disconnected from
Mm.
our daily lives. But I think it's because people are thinking also about profits. That's
Hmm.
why they see things. So, Gigi, do you have
Yeah,
something to say?
definitively. That's a way of them make profits. That's
Hmm.
no doubt about it. So before we wrap up, any final quick tips, Jess?
Yeah, so you might be wondering, well, how is my digestion, or how can I tell, or where do I even begin? But we have to remember that our body is always sending us signals.
Right,
We just
right.
need to listen to those signals. And as we talked about today, digestion plays a huge role in your overall health. And there are some simple ways to check if everything's running smoothly. For starters, think about how you feel when you wake up in the morning. Are you sluggish or groggy? Even after a decent night's sleep, that could indicate that your body is holding on to undigested food or toxins. Another great way to gauge your digestion is to pay attention to your bathroom habits. Are you having regular and comfortable bowel movements every morning? If so, that's a fantastic sign that things are in balance. But keep an eye on the appearance, the odor of your urine and stool, because those can reveal a lot about your health. I personally like to keep a journal to track what I eat and how my BMs vary, along with how I feel overall. It's a super helpful tool to look back on when I'm not feeling my best, or even just to identify what keeps me feeling great. And let's not forget about your tongue. Yes, I said it. If you notice a white coating on your tongue, that could be undigested food lingering and, well, rotting a bit in your mouth. So stay inquisitive and really tune into your body because it's trying to communicate something important to you. Now, a final gem I want to leave you with. It's a real game changer. But find out your Ayurvedic constitution. It only takes a few minutes to complete. It's a short questionnaire about your physical and behavioral traits. And understanding your constitution can elevate your digestion and overall wellness to a whole new level. And just to share a quick personal story, I used to live in a really dry climate and struggled with severe congestion that baffled doctors. I tried every allergy medication, nasal spray, and saline rinses available. Anything for relief because I was so desperate. And what I didn't realize at the time was that my lifestyle was exacerbating the problem because I was skipping meals, fasting, and munching on a ton of dry, cold foods like salads, crackers, and chips. But then once I learned that my constitution was primarily made up of the air element, it all clicked because my diet and habits were not grounding me. They were throwing me further out of balance. And so the result were physical issues like congestion, as well as mental symptoms like anxiety and racing thoughts. So knowing your unique constitution is truly a game changer because it's like having a personalized health map that reveals what works for you and what doesn't. It takes the guessing game out of what's good for me and replaces it with clear, actionable steps for feeling balanced and thriving.
Yeah, so Jess, you have given us a lot to think about. If someone listening wants to dive deeper into Ayurveda to start incorporating these practices, where can they go to learn more or connect with you?
Yeah, thanks, Gigi and Dr. G. I'm so glad this resonated with you both and hopefully with the listeners and all the Forever 29ers. For anyone who wants to explore Ayurveda further, I'll be sharing more tips, recipes, and resources on my website and social media. So definitely check those out. And don't forget, it's all about progress, not perfection. So just start where you are and trust that even the smallest steps can lead to big shifts over time.
Such a beautiful reminder, Jess. Thank you again for joining us and sharing this Ayurvedic wisdom. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yes, Jess, I thank you. I'm already inspired to make some of these changes myself. Little by little, like you said before, a little becomes a lot. And I can remember what my friend told me. What's going to kill you in 10 years is already inside of you. You just have to kind of modify it, whatever you can.
And you can modify it,
We
right?
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
We can do our best to, keep things in balance. But we
Mhm.
have to remember that we are in control. But
That's
That's
thank
right.
you.
right.
It's been a joy to share these Ayurvedic insights, and here's to finding balance one small step at a time.
Thank you, Jess, and thank you, 29ers, for joining us today.